with the Open University. So I am a brand shiny new member of staff. Joining an organisation during lockdown is an interesting experience, but the OU have done their best to make it as friendly as possible, including delivering me OU equipment, which was excitement a few weeks ago. I'm here today to talk about using AI to augment the student journey, which I think is a nice juxtaposition between Vanessa's keynote and then the sessions that are coming up after lunch. Just introduce myself. Hopefully there's enough pink on the screen for you with my slides, Leslie, to keep you happy there. So just a quick introduction. I did say that I was a new member of staff, but I'm not actually new to the OU. There's a little picture there of me, which I use as my profile picture for just about everything because it's a picture of me that I like. And Google Photos helpfully told me last week that it was taken 8 years ago. So that is a picture of me graduating from the OU with an MA in Classics 8 years ago now. At the moment, I'm currently studying the MA ODE, so it is both exciting but also extremely intimidating to be here with a attendees list full of people who I recognize from my research reading and from Twitter. But I'm not here in a research capacity. I'm here to talk about what I'm doing in my day job. So I said that I work for Test and Learn. Now, Test and Learn are under the Digital Technologies program in LXT, Learning Experiences and Technologies, under the CIO portfolio. And it's taken me about 7 weeks to learn that, so hopefully I got it all right. Test and Learn is a VCE-funded initiative. We're governed by a working group and a steering group, and what we do is conduct investigations, proofs of concept, and pilots on how we can use at the OU new technologies to help with teaching, learning, and generally with making administration and other things better at the Open University. When we come to piloting, a pilot is a small scale tryout of the program, if you like, but with real people and real data. So at the moment, some initiatives we've got in pilot are a chatbot on the ceremonies website who's dealing with recent graduates who are asking questions about their graduation ceremony. And we also just finished a pilot where we were using robotic processing automation to automatically send all those little text messages that come through to students saying TMA 01 is due in a couple of weeks. What I'm going to be talking to you about today is a proof of concept. So it's not been near real data or released into the wider world. It's something that Professor John Deman from KMI, another acronym, approached the Test and Learn governance group and asked if we would run a proof of concept looking at what we termed the AI module guru. So we know that often students require ad hoc advice and guidance from things like how to perform basic functions, such as how to submit a TMA, many different questions to do with referencing, how to book a tutorial, where to find information about their next module. They also might need signposting to course content and supplementary materials. Now, we may feel that this is all in a very obvious place in Student Home, But as well as it perhaps not being that obvious, the student journey can be very complex. There also seems to be at the moment this, I do it myself, this culture for instant responses. I use the Bixby assistant on my Samsung. I can see she lit up there on my Samsung device, which is quite helpful because not so many people use Bixby, so you can listen to the radio without anyone trying to get your thing to do something odd. But I'll ask it to read me the weather, to check what's happening on my calendar tomorrow. These are all things that I could look up myself quite easily, of course, but it's just this culture that we seem to have at the moment where you're asking and getting that quick response. So I said I was studying the MAODE at the moment, and the last module that I'm finishing off is H817, which is about innovation in educational technology. And the TMA, my first TMA, so I had accepted the job but not started, and the TMA01, the topic is to write about interesting how you could use innovative technology in your educational context. So I started writing a bit saying, I think at the Open University we could make use of virtual assistants and we could do this, this, this and this. And then I spoke to my boss, the head of the program, Jeff Aldridge, and realized that we had actually in Test and Learn just completed a proof of concept where we'd looked at that very thing, looking at how we could use AI to augment, to help students along that journey. I think one of the barriers for study is I do it myself. I have a particular time that I've set aside to do my study. And if something happens, if I get stuck with something, or if I have a question that I can't figure out on my own, suddenly I'm prevented from making progress. And because I've put that time aside in order to study, it can be very disruptive if I have to ask for assistance and wait. And of course, associate lecturers can't be expected to be available on hand 24/7. But if I'm studying at a strange time, or I've got what could be a really basic query, but I can't get that feedback, then I may well get distracted or go off and do something else. And that window for study has gone, essentially. So what we did for what the team did for this proof of concept is and I'm not going to share the whole process of what we went through here. What they did is they worked with some people on the TM112 course team. They looked at research where students had talked about their pain points along the journey, about what they found frustrating, where they were getting lost, what they found difficult. And then you can see here that we've used a group of staff students to validate the concept. Staff students are quite useful to use in Test and Learn because often it's difficult for us to get access to real students. So a staff student is a member of staff who's also a student. And although they do bring with them some OU baggage, at least they do have experience with being a student and can think about things from a student point of view when we're putting concepts in front of them. So there was a big workshop. You can see here from this picture, complete with many, many, many post-it notes, because if you have a workshop and there's no post-it notes, did you really have a workshop? So you can see it was a really busy workshop with lots of feedback and interaction. And the technology that we were using to run this proof of concept was Amazon's Alexa technology. So what I'm going to do for you now is a quick demonstration of many of the things that formed part of that proof of concept that we showed in that workshop. So I am just going to, you won't see anything on the screen, well, you'll see my face in the slide, but I'm not showing anything on screen. It's going to be auditory. Now, I don't own an Alexa device, but what I do have, so I can interact with it via my web browser. But in order to do that, you'll hear quite a bit of clicking because I have to click the mouse button in order to tell Alexa that I want her to listen to what I'm saying. So there will be a bit of clicking. Let me just switch my audio so that hopefully you will be able to hear her. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is, she says module in a really weird way, and I don't know why, and she also calls me John. Don't let that bother you. The reason she calls me John is because we set up this proof of concept based on Professor John DeMann. It would be nice if she'd have called me Professor, but she just calls me John. But I'm okay with that. Hopefully you will be too. Open Paul Guru test.
Hi John, nice to hear from you again. Remember, you have a tutorial in Adobe Connect at 7 p.m. tonight. How can I help you today?
So what's useful there, of course, is that she's come up with a reminder. I don't have to ask, do I have a tutorial today? She has decided that I need to know that. I have a tutorial tonight, and she's reminding me. So let's ask some of those perhaps more basic student journey type questions that we might get. Who is my tutor?
Your tutor for this module is Jeff Bezos. You can also see this information on the module website or via Student Home under Tutor and Tutorial Dates.
Okay. How do I email my tutor?
Jeff's email address is jeff.bezos@open.ac.uk. Would you like me to forward that address to you in an email?
No, thanks.
Okay.
So it's a simple interaction there. And again, that's something that I could easily find out in Student Home, but sometimes it's just that instant response that we can ask a question, quite a simple question, and we can get that feedback. And she's offering also to include that information to me in an email so that it's at the tip of my fingers. I don't have to think about typing it myself and maybe making some spelling mistakes. What other questions might a student ask? Well, there's one that's really in the forefront of my mind at the moment on my H817 schedule. When's my next TMA due?
Your next TMA is TMA02. It is due on July 9th. Would you like me to email you the assessment guidance?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So again, I've asked another simple question and she's offering to signpost me directly to that assessment guidance because it can be, there's a wealth of information in Student Home and it can be quite difficult for a student, especially one that's perhaps stressed or feeling under pressure, to access that quickly. Another thing that this could help with is planning, keeping people to deadlines, making sure that they know what to do. And I can imagine walking down the street even and asking Alexa this question. What do I have to do this week?
This week is week 10, diving into data. You have text and Python files for week 10, online activities for week 10, and a Block 2 quiz.
And thanks, Vicky. I do realise I'm using quite a lot of OU jargon here, and so is Alexa. And as well as the study planning, we could also be thinking about what we're going to study next. So what could I study next?
After TN112, most students will choose TN129 Technologies in Practice. TN129 is a 30-credit module that next starts in October 2020. For the qualification you are on, you also have a choice of two 30-credit mathematics modules to study. You can get more help with this by going to the next module page on your Student Home.
So again, this is all information that is available on Student Home, but I think just having it like this, where it's really simple to get at, can spark some ideas off. The student can then, when they look at the website, they know that Alexa mentioned, or the next one is TM129, so they could start searching for that one straight off. They've got something to hook onto when they're looking to make decisions about what's coming up next. The other thing that, as well as these sort of more generic questions about student journeys, the AI could also have some basic information about some of the basic content and learning outcomes that are within the modules. So this AI here is geared up to answer a few questions about TM112. So let's dig into that. What programming languages are most popular?
Figure 1.1 on page 5 of your Block 1 textbook shows the popularity of the most used programming languages over time. You can see Python, Java and JavaScript were the most popular programming languages in 2018. This module will cover programming in Python. Would you like me to send you more info to your email?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So you can see there I've found a little bit about the course content, and I've also got a physical reference there. And again, she was offering to email me more information. We can go a bit further with this. What is Python?
Python is one of the most popular high-level programming languages. High-level programming languages include Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, Smalltalk, Scratch, and a whole range of application-specific languages that attempt to make the process of writing programs easier for the human involved. Python is introduced in your Block 1 textbook. Would you like me to send you more info to your email?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So let's move on to a couple more questions about programming. What is an algorithm?
An algorithm is a program that tells a computer how to carry out a task. It should be self-contained, in that all the instructions for the task are included in the algorithm and nothing else is needed. Would you like me to send you more info to your email?
Yes, please.
Done. Email sent.
Okay, so she's actually going to send me an email with a link to some information. So I'm going to try and share my screen. I click on stop sharing, share my screen, and I want to share this. Okay, so I have clicked on, move that out of the way. I have clicked on the link that Alexa emailed me, and you can see I've come through to Moodle. And this was what we were just talking about. This is the section of my module where we're talking about algorithms. So I've been taken straight to the page, and I can see all the information here. And over on the right-hand side, there is a pop-up where the AI is saying, if you need any more support with this, you can click on me here. So I'm going to click on the support room. And because this is a demonstration, it is going to be very, very slow to load, just to make me feel really nervous. So this is loading up another part of the POC demonstration that we did, which is another way to interact with the device on screen, so you can actually see information. Nothing like a live demonstration too. Oh, here she is.
Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing fine. I brought up here last topic we discussed. How can I help you today?
So you can see, because I've accessed the environment from the algorithm section, she's preempted with some questions about algorithms. So I'm conscious that time is getting on. I'll just ask her the first question. How do I create an algorithm?
To create an algorithm, you can start by decomposing your problem into smaller problems that can be further broken down until you reach a point where each step can be clearly described as a set of simple instructions. These instructions will be the algorithm to solve the problem. You can read about algorithms and decomposition in Part 2 of your Block 2 textbook, starting at page 69.
So again, I've got a bit more explanation, and I've got some physical signposts of places that I could go to. And the other thing, this is a POC, so it's not been properly drawn out. But another thing that this environment could be used for are pop quizzes, basically. So let's ask, can you please test my knowledge about algorithms?
Okay, let me test your preparation with a simple quiz. Please read the question carefully and choose one of the proposed answers.
Now, I've been told by people much cleverer than me at this that the correct answer is B.
Good. This was the correct answer. Okay, I see you have made some progress. If you want to know more about this topic, you can find more on the Open University Open Learn website.
So what we think the AI could be doing in situations like this is surfacing supplementary material for you. So if I click on this link, you can see that the AI has found a course on coding and algorithms which perhaps I could benefit from, because that's the area I'm looking at, and it's extra material. We know that material is out there, but one of the problems with being a student at the Open University is there is so much stuff. There are so many things to look at that it can be quite overwhelming to go off and find that information. So that's enough of Alexa. Yes, sorry, POC, proof of concept. Can we have my slides back up again, please? I'm unsure how to get those up myself. Maybe if I look here. No. No.
Mark's having
So
a
as
look,
I
Selina.
said,
He's typing something.
great. This was a proof of concept that we did put in front of some people, so I would just like to go through some of their feedback. But I have been reading the chat as we've gone along, and a lot of the things that you've been commenting on are things that came up from the demonstrators in the from the people in when we did the proof of concept as well. So the fact that being signposted directly to material was helpful. Being able to do something on the mobile when you're on the go, so you can make the most of that dead time when you're walking between lectures, perhaps. When you're walking between appointments, when you're on a train, all that kind of thing would be really helpful. Yes, reading module texts, that would also be very useful. So I've spoken about some of, so here's an example of, that's very similar to one of the things that I just walked you through. You can see the AI has responded to a quiz and has signposted some alternative learning. So here was some of the feedback that we got about that. I'm sure these slides will be made available if you want to read more about this. And this is one just about if being able to access on the mobile device, as I mentioned. So again, some of the feedback that we got was that that would be useful. It's about maximizing time and saving time, I think, with many of these use cases. These are just some comments that people liked about the whole concept. And this was just a brief answer to the question. I think this AI support would be important for students of the future. So you can see there was a positive response to that. There was a little video that I found from the University of Lancaster and how they're making the most of this technology. I think if we could get the link to that put in the chat perhaps, or I wasn't, because it's a minute long and I realise I'm running quite late. So sorry to be all keen to share the video there, Vicky, but perhaps that might be something you can look at in your own time. It's only a minute long. Because from a test and learn point of view, we have finished the proof of concept now. We've digested the learning and we've made recommendations. We don't move to pilot automatically. That would be a request from the business that perhaps we pilot this solution. But what I wanted to share with OU staff and students is this. So Amazon are going to be running an Alexa Discovery workshop for us on Thursday, July the 2nd, and then the part 2 on Friday, July the 3rd. So this is an invitation to all at the OU. It's not just test and learn and digital technologies people. It would be really great if we could get lots of people in the virtual room with Amazon to think about some of these things that we think would be really useful, things that we think could help students, anything like that. So I would like to extend that invitation. If you're interested, please email the mailbox Digital Technologies, or you can email me directly. Oh, that was supposed to be a white box. That was supposed to be white text. It's come out all blue and very inaccessible. Apologies for that. My name is Selina Griffin. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all. Oh, I lost my webcam. I'll put my webcam back on. There we go. Sorry for the problems with Adobe Connect there. I was, having only been a student and not being a tutor, I'm not used to having all these exciting buttons in Adobe Connect, and the power got to my head a bit there and I was clicking randomly and things weren't very smooth. But I think you were able to hear Alexa quite well, so that's good. I was driving everyone mad last week testing that with everybody, ringing them up and having conversations. And I will get a link to that little video from the University of Lancaster just to, in case you want to watch that. Because although obviously they're a campus-based university, so there are questions about what time does the canteen open and things like that. A lot of the use cases that they have in the demonstration from the University of Lancaster are very much things that I think would be of benefit to students in the OU as well. So thank you, everyone. Great to be here, and back to you, Vicky.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's really fascinating, Selina. It's amazing what Alexa can do and everything around Alexa as well. I think Anne Jones is joining us by a webcam. Right now on the schedule we have lunch, so if you feel like you've had a lot of information, you're tired after your online scavenger hunt, please feel free to take a break, pop in the Teams to have a look at what's going on in there, especially encouraging you to look at the posters. But if you'd like to stay around in Adobe Connect, then we have a small book launch, which is what I think Anne is going to be talking to us about now.
Yeah, it would be nice if you were able to stay for a little while. We're very aware that this space is also lunchtime, so we're not going to keep you too long. But this is a book launch, and I'm just going to see if I can move it onto the appropriate bits. Hold on a minute. And so I think I've got the requisite things here. I've got the book. I've got a bottle of bubbly, and I did have a cake, but I ate that. So I'm not quite sure how online book launches work, but we're going to just say a little bit about the launch of Educational Visions, which was published online at the end of last year and is now available as a book as well. As you can probably see from that, it's edited by Rebecca, Eileen and myself, and with contributions from a large number of CALRG members, some of whom are here today. So I just wanted to say a little bit about some of my own reasons for being interested wanting to do the book, which go back really to the origins of the CALRG. And that seems appropriate because it's a celebration of the anniversary. So I was a founder member of CALRG in 1978, which makes me feel very old. But as I got involved with the group and as the group grew, and as Eileen mentioned, it was interdisciplinary work, and interesting, Vanessa was talking about the importance of interdisciplinary work as well. So around the same time or a bit later, I embarked on doing my part-time PhD at the OU. So one of the things it provided for me was colleagues and research networks, so that there was a way of having very helpful discussions and feedback about research ideas and plans. Also an interdisciplinary network in the OU. Oh, and thanks, Rebecca, you put up the link. I've got it at the end, but not here. And it also provided, I think, a framework for exploring the role of computers in OU teaching, because the OU got into this area pretty early on. And also thinking about how we might improve our teaching by using technology. Our first conference was in 1979, and we've had conferences nearly every year since. You'll notice that we missed a year, otherwise this would be our 42nd. And interestingly, given the 2 sessions we've already had, we were interested in AI back then from the start. And then I think there was a bit of a pause, and it's come back again, but you can have a look at that in the book. We edited a book on CALRG research fairly early on in 1987 called The Computer Revolution in Education. That was Eileen, myself, and Tim O'Shea. New Technologies for Distance Teaching. As you can see, we weren't modest about titles. And so as the OU approached its 50th anniversary, and as the CALRG approached its 40th, co-producing a book seemed a really good way to celebrate the work of CALRG at that point. So we based the book around 4 visions or principles of educational technology, which have informed our work over this period and are still relevant. And you can see those there. The idea that one can scale up, working in teams, learning is accessible to everyone, adaptation to meet learners' needs, and learners engaging enthusiastically with STEM learning. And what we decided to do was to have pairs of chapters. We came up with a plan where we paired chapters into a retrospective chapter that looked at the foundation of work towards this vision and what had resulted from that, and a more contemporary and future-oriented chapter. And Rebecca in particular helped us to apply a framework, the Beyond Prototypes framework, throughout the book, to help discuss and describe when and why educational technology initiatives succeed and why they fail. So here's another link to the book. And at this point, I'm going to stop and hand over to Eileen.
Thanks, Anne. Just switching on the camera, which I seem to be having trouble doing. Sorry, everyone.
I'll switch off my mic.
Hi, Anne's given you a great introduction to what we decided to do to celebrate our CAL Group anniversary. Really grateful to all the members of the group who contributed to the book. I think Anne's given you a good sense of what's in it and why we did it. I think that pregnant pause there. I think it's interesting that we were able to both revisit the start of the group working and the things that have happened in the 40 years in between. So this sense of having an eye to the past, what we did then and what we have done in more recent years. very interesting to look at that. I might just make one more remark. Anne mentioned the Beyond Prototypes framework. That's work that we did as a small piece of research from the ESRC via the London Knowledge Lab, who had the money at the time, to try to think about, for those of us who've been in the area for such a long time, we do need to ask ourselves what has stuck about the interesting things that people have done. I think over the years at the CAL conference, it's always fascinating. It's really engaging, and many examples of the use of technology to enhance learning are so engaging at the time. We set ourselves an interesting question to say, so why do some work and why do others work for a while and then fade away? If you have a look at the book, you'll find the Beyond Prototypes framework. I just would call out two aspects of what we think matters in the longevity and impact of technology-enhanced learning. I'm getting distracted because I'm hearing typing in my headphones, but I don't know why. Doesn't matter. I was another pregnant pause. What are the two things that I think matters? Well, I think one that is typified by the existence of this group over the years is the notion of persistence, as we describe in the book and in other materials. Persistent intent is what matters. It can either be an individual with a vision, or it can be a vision that passes from one person to another to continue the work. The second thing that I would draw attention to is this notion of bricolage. At any point when you're involved in developing a CAL or a TEL implementation, what you're doing is using the best of the technology that you have available. So this sense of people who work in our area being people who look at what's around and see what can be done with it. Bricolage sounds like a very grand term, but in fact, it's pretty much like tinkering. And I think for those of you on the call who have an engineering background, that makes quite a lot of sense. We tend to try to do the things we can do with the technologies that get developed. So I just want to thank everybody who was interested in putting together a volume that reflected on where we've been, where we're going, and what matters about the things that we have done over the years. I think if we look at the programme of this conference over a couple of days, you have this real sense of people starting out in an area, our wonderful PhD students developing their own particular line of research and, if you like, research footprint, make a difference to the world by the research you do in your PhD. You have people like Anne and myself who've been heavily engaged in this area, in the intervening space, and you have a real range of people. As I mentioned, as we started off, we have people who have interests in the area for practical purposes. We have people who are interested in the area as a test bed for testing out theories in their own discipline. And everybody is welcome to join in the activities of this group. And I don't know how you do a toast without shared beverages. But I think I'll hand over now to Rebecca, who'll give us her take on what we did, why we did it, and how we can best celebrate both the continuing existence of the group and our future work. Thanks, and I'll switch off my camera so you can have Rebecca now.
Okay, I'm just going to talk really briefly, actually. I don't think I'm going to do all the things that Eileen said. What I'm going to do is say we have set up a Padlet. If you haven't explored Padlet before, it's a sort of online notice board. You can stick sticky notes on it. It's almost like a workshop. So what I've done is put some of the key elements of the book up. So a link to the book, a link to the Beyond Prototypes report, a link to the things that CALRG has been working towards. And what you can do is you can go there, you can browse through that, you can like things if you do like them, you can post comments. If you've looked at the book yourself and found anything interesting or anything relevant to it, you can add to the board. So I'm just going to paste the link to that in the chat. And then that's me done. I don't know if we're going to cut back to Anne toasting us all in champagne or if she's just going to save the champagne for later.
You have to save it for later, Rebecca. It's a bit weird. It's a shame we can't share drinks, alcoholic or not, and snacks, isn't it? But there we go.
So I'll just round it off then by saying thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you for very much, Anne, for leading us through this presentation. I think that Mark's got the best idea. He is suggesting we have a virtual toast to the CAL group, and I would say the toast is, may the CAL group continue to be as good a source of support and inspiration in this research area. But most importantly, the CAL group is what the members decide it's going to be. So congratulations on our past, but great excitement in thinking about the future. So well done to all, and let's have some lunch now.
Thank you all, book launch people. So we've had a great morning, and thanks to Selina and Vanessa and Vicky for all their sessions this morning, and Eileen for hosting, and Dan, thank you very much. What we're going to do now is we're going to break for lunch. Do continue to in this space, go to the spaces and explore some of the activities in there, socialise, meet and introduce yourself to your colleagues. And the posters will be available for the poster session in the Teams area as well. And we'll meet back here at 1 o'clock, 1300, for a session on adaptive technology enhanced learning. So I look forward to seeing you all at 1 o'clock back here. Do please come and invite everybody. Thank you very much. Have a good lunch break. Hi, Irina.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
How you doing? Oh, well, that's quite loud.
Oh, okay. Let me adjust it then.
Okay, I've lost you altogether.
How about now?
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's great level, great sound level. Do you want to try your webcam?
Yeah, sure. Just a second.
I just my haircut doesn't lend itself to headphones very well. Not that it's particularly tidy anyway.
Can you see me as well?
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's good. Yep.
It's working because I got this microphone just to make sure that I'm articulate. So great. Let's have a nice lunch, and I'm looking forward to session 1.
Brilliant. Okay. Oh, I'm going to stop recording. I've just realised.